Alright, hey guys, this is going to be a recap of week 3 of War League. Sorry for the late post. I've been taking some time off for the holidays. I've actually gotten to play a lot of in-person Yu-Gi-Oh! Over the past few weeks, which I enjoy a lot more than playing online, and as I go through the video, you'll kind of see some of the reasons why I don't love playing online. But for week 3, I played my Reasoning Gate deck. Things actually got a little bit funky. There was a mishap during week 3, and it's a little bit confusing, but I'll do my best to explain now, and then as I go through the replays, I'll point out what happened. So initially, when I played the match, spoiler alert, I won 2-0, but there were a couple very minor mistakes I made during the match that neither I nor my opponent caught while we played. And then for War League, you have to post your replay so that it can be watched or reviewed or audited or whatever. And it was actually caught afterwards. I had made two minor mistakes. So what happened was they decided to reverse the score to be 0-2 instead of 2-0. So I would actually lose the match 0-2 despite, actually winning it. And my team kind of argued on my behalf. And after some back and forth and deliberation, they decided that the score for week 3 would be 1-1 and that I would have to play a tiebreaker to decide who wins week 3. And then for week 4, I would start off with a game loss. So I'd have to win like 2 in a row to win that match. So I know it's confusing, but I'm just going to jump right into the replays and I'll point out the mistakes when they come up. But what it means is that I'm going to have, 2 games for, the first round that I played, and then I'll show you another replay for the tiebreaker. But the tiebreaker was pretty exciting, so I'm excited to show you guys that. Okay, so here is the first time I played, and I'm playing against this guy named Kit. Sorry. Okay, so he's going first. I reasoning into a Fusilier, I believe, here. And then, there's a Pot of Greed in the graveyard. So one of the biggest Achilles heels of this deck is that you can't play Nobleman, right? Because if you play Nobleman, then it fuels your opponent's banish for Dim Fusion. So you can't really effectively play Nobleman. So one of the biggest Achilles heels is your opponent resolving Moth multiple times. This is actually a Spirit Reaper right here, but he played Greed and did a T-set. So I really cannot afford for this to be a Magician of Faith that he gets off. So I'm really scared of that. So I decided to make a Thousand Eyes to try to stop that. A lot of people, if he's playing Turbo, which I think I know what he's playing at this point. I think I saw his previous games. But if he's playing Turbo, there's a high chance this could be a Spy instead of a Moth. But I really just cannot afford this to be a Magician of Faith. It would really be quite terrible. So I make a Thousand Eyes, take it. It's a Spirit Reaper. Okay, not bad. I would not have been able to get over it anyway. And then here I'm like, okay, maybe he was baiting out like something, a knock with Spirit Reaper. Maybe this is Magician of Faith. So I'm like, okay, fuck it. I'm just gonna make another one. I'm getting my Sinister Serpent back every turn, so I make another one. He makes a misplay right here. He summons Sook and tries to attack with Thousand Eyes, but I have another Thousand Eyes on the field, so this can't attack. So he makes a huge misplay right there, and just has to pass his turn. During my turn, I still can't attack because I have Thousand Eyes on the field, so I just set a Crane. My thought process is if he Noblemans that, then I can get it back with Dim Fusion right there, and I already have a Light and Dark in the grave. Okay, so he scapegoats in his end phase, and then he makes his own Thousand Eyes, takes my Fusilier. Here, in that case, I probably would have actually taken my Thousand. So he's going to tribute the Thousand Eyes for his Zaborg and pop my Thousand Eyes. I probably would have taken my Thousand Eyes just in case something happens, just to get off the field so you can attack, but it ends up being the same thing. So I Monster Gate into Jinzo. And you can see I've already gotten so much value off of Sinister Serpent. I've used it for 2 metas, and now I've used it for Monster Reincarnation, and I'll get it back next turn. So one of the reasons I like Sinister Serpent. Here I make an interesting play. I go a little bit aggro here. I'm going to draw off of Crane, and I decide to banish this instead of attacking. My thought process here is I don't want him to have a light in the graveyard for a chaos monster, so I'm going to banish that instead. And then I kind of make a weird play here, but I tribute the BLS. I want to get plus off of the Air Knight effect, and then I also don't want to leave BLS on the field because I'm kind of scared of like Snatch Steal or something. And it turns out that it was actually a really good play for me to get this off the field because he actually did have a brain control in his hand. So, he would have been able to brain control my BLS. What else? Also, I figure, I got Light and Dark in the graveyard, and I also have 2 more Chaos Sorcerers in the deck and a Dim Fusion in hand. So if I draw into one of those Chaos Sorcerers, which there's only 13 cards left in my deck, so, it's a pretty decent chance of doing that, then I can always banish the BLS and bring it back with Dim Fusion. So that's my thought process there. Now I just clear all of his tokens and attack him for some damage. What do I draw into here? Draw into True Nade. That's pretty good in case he Snatch Steals. So he makes a really cool play right here. He brain controls my Jinzo. Okay. He Tsukiyomi's my Crane. Okay. Then he attacks over my Crane with Tsukiyomi, attacks over my Air Knight with Jinzo, and then he creature swaps my Jinzo back. Actually, why did he do that? That was a really... Okay, he misplayed. So he creature swaps my Jinzo, and then I take my Fusilier, and he takes my Fusilier, so he ends up with the monster that has higher attack. But why didn't he just creature swap Tsukiyomi? Yeah, I don't know why he didn't just creature swap Tsukiyomi, give me Tsukiyomi, and then he has my... Oh, sorry, I'm I'm tripping. He brain controlled my Jinzo. Sorry, for some reason I thought he snatched it and flipped it with Tsukiyomi. Sorry, he brain controlled my Jinzo, so the Jinzo's coming back to my field either way. So that's why he didn't do that. It's like the same result. Okay, I got pretty lucky. I top deck into a Pot of Greed. Draw 2. And I can't do anything right here, so I'm just going to chill. I'm going to let him kill this Jinzo and try to stall out with the Scapegoat. I do draw the Sork like I was expecting to, so I make a pretty cool play. This happens pretty often where your opponent will take one of your monsters, then you can summon a Chaos Monster, banish it, and then get it back with Dim Fusion, which is pretty nice. So I Dim Fuse back my Fusilier that I just banished. I decided to banish his face down, which is pretty good because it was Magician Faith finally. And then attack him for some damage. And now he's in a pretty tough spot. I banish his face down again. You should always try to, he's got 2 back row. It's just best to banish the face down and guarantee that you get some value out of BLS. He has another Scapegoat. So he's stalling for a little bit longer. I think I'll get rid of 3 of them. And then he ends up conceding right there because he can't clear that board. Going into... okay, so I already forgot to point out the mistake. You guys did not see it, but before we started the game, or started the match, I accidentally loaded the wrong deck. And what we did is we did rock, paper, scissors, we drew our hands. I immediately realized that I loaded the wrong deck. And then we exited out and started a new match, right? So neither of us got to see any of each other's cards. We simply played the rock, paper, scissors. I went back out, loaded the right deck, went back in, and I honored the rock, paper, scissors, which he had won the first time. So that was the first mistake I made, and that's what eventually led to one of the game losses that I was describing earlier. But you'll see here at the end of this game the second mistake that I make. So he's once again going first. Heavy Storms, okay, duos me. Not a great start for me. Not a great start. Luckily, he hits Dim Fusion, which I have 2 of, and I decided to pitch the second Dim Fusion because I'm like, a lot needs to go right for me to be able to resolve this Dim Fusion. I need to get a Light and Dark in the graveyard, which I'm pretty far away from, and I need to drop a Chaos Monster. If I pitch the BLS instead, then I don't have the Chaos Monster for the Dim Fusion, and I have a ring, and he's already got Tempo right here, so I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm going to have enough life to resolve this by the time I can. So that was my thought process there. So I end up ringing the Kaiku, I believe. I want that off the field because I mean I need it off the field eventually, and if I ever want to summon this BLS, I'm gonna need to do that. So I make a pretty ballsy move right here. I set the Scapegoat. Um, I don't really think he's playing Dust Tornado because I saw a Decree before. Um, but I could have just activated this. It's a little bit ballsy here if he has MST in my end phase, but I decided to just set it. I get some value out of it by baiting out the Abyss Soldier effect. And then I'm in a decent spot right here. Heavy Storm. He resets his Merchant, not great. But I do get a Crane, which is pretty nice. And then I can clear the Merchant. He gets, what does he get back? He gets back Scapegoat, interesting. Okay, so he bounces my face down with Abyss Soldier, totally fine. I was trying to bait that out. And now I have a pre-mat for the Crane, bring it back, draw one. Really nice top deck into Pot of Greed. That's like the best feeling ever. I'm able to reset the pre-mat with Trunade. And then I think I contribute the Crane for Air Knight, get over his Abyss Soldier. Sorry for the sirens in the background, by the way. So I'm in a decent spot right here. I'm in a pretty good spot. I'm pretty comfortable with this. He cannot pop my tokens because he'll end up popping his own tokens. And now I'm just getting so much value out of Pre-Mat and Air Knight. Get another draw. You can see here I have a Compulse down, and I really love Compulse as a side card. You just feel so safe when you're playing Compulse because if you drop like a BLS, you can always just bounce it back to your hand if your opponent tries to Snatch Steal it or something. And it's obviously good against Thousand Eyes. So here I make a Thousand Eyes in main phase 2. And I do this because I don't have a Dark in the graveyard. And I have this BLS in my hand. And then also I contribute the Thousand Eyes and like say a Sacred Crane next turn for Fusilier, make BLS live. And then also if he has like a Chaos Monster or some big push, or if he maybe Snatch Steals my Air Knight, he won't be able to attack me without first getting rid of the Thousand Eyes. So I feel pretty good about that. So let's see what he does here. I think he just has a... Oh, okay. He activates Heavy Storm, and what did I do here? He activates Heavy Storm, which is really not great for him because it's going to open up my Thousand Eyes slot, and I'll be able to take another token. I bounce back the Air Knight. Why did I do that? Let's see. Oh, I have a Crane in the graveyard. Okay, I think right here my preference is to tribute the Thousand Eyes for one tribute for the Air Knight instead of having to. No, I actually don't know why I did this. I actually don't know why I did this. Maybe I just didn't want to leave the Air Knight on the field or something. Because it ends up with a similar field if I had not done that. Because I contribute the Fusilier for the Fusilier, and then I would have like Fusilier plus Air Knight instead of Crane plus Air Knight. Yeah, I'm not really sure why I did that. Maybe I just wanted to activate it. Or maybe I was afraid he was. Oh, sorry. Yeah, not really sure. Maybe I just wanted to guarantee that I'll get Air Knight on the field next turn. But pretty good spot right here. I think he Kribos the BLS attack. And right here is actually where I made the second mistake. So I normal summoned Air Knight already this turn, and I got a little bit trigger happy, and I double summoned, and I summoned Fusilier. So I personally think that there's no way that he could have won even if I did not set the Fusilier. Like, I'll just finish the match and you guys will see. So in his end phase, I Regeki break his back row, he can't activate it, and then my next turn I'm just going to banish this face down with BLS and attack him directly, right? So he's at 19 right now. If he got back 28, he would have been at 47, right? And then during my next turn, I could just summon the Fusilier and attack him with Crane, Fusilier, and Air Knight, which is 59, which would be game. So I think he's not going to win here either way. But the reason that this was initially counted as a game loss is because my opponent used Kuriboh based on the fact that I had Fusilier on the board. So there's like an irreparable game state, and I have game knowledge that he has Kribo, and he used Kribo, thinking that I was gonna have lethal next turn. So maybe he would have held it and saved it for this turn. But I really think that there's no way that he's getting out of this position. Um, so that's why they gave me 2 game losses initially, which again was actually changed to be just 1 game loss for week 3 and then 1 game loss for week 4. So at this point in time, after the War League Council, whatever they're called, reviewed this gameplay, the score is 1-1 at this point. So we had to basically play a tiebreaker. So at a different point in time, we scheduled a tiebreaker game, and this is that game. Okay, so what happens here is we side, and he gets to go first, I believe. Oh, yeah. So I just scoop that up just so that we could side, and then he gets to go first. Starts off. Actually, his hand's not bad, but mine is pretty good. He hits 4 correctly. I get a reasoning off, luckily. Graceful. Okay, I'm making a pretty ballsy play right here. So I opt to not pitch to the DMOC. I pitched the other crane instead. And my thought process here is I'm going to try to snatch steal this, tribute them both for DMOC, and then I'll have DMOC online, and we'll be able to defuse it back. So I go for a pretty ballsy play right here, tribute them both for DMOC. Oh, I'll get back Graceful. That's really interesting. I'm a little bit greedy right there, I guess. So Graceful, let's see, pitch True Nade and Air Knight. He's on Decree, so I'm like, okay, True Nade is probably not super helpful, and it's probably Scapegoat back row, which it is. I keep the meta, and decide to attack for 28. So he has Scapegoat there, cool. Main phase 2, I make a Gatling, and you might be wondering why I'm doing this, because what if he has meta next turn? He could just take my Gatling. But the main reason to do this is that I want DMOC in the banished removed from play so I can defuse it back. I can't really risk him. Actually, what I could have done is just set this Raigeki. I could have just set this Raigeki break, and then if he makes Thousand Eyes, I can Raigeki break, pitch the meta, and then still keep my DMOC. But my thought process when I did this anyway was that I wanted DMOC banish so that I could bring him back with Infusion next turn, and also potentially pop some of these tokens in the meantime. And then if he doesn't have meta, then I'm in a pretty good spot with the Gatling on the field. So it eats up an Exile, totally fine with that. I Dimension Fusion DMOC back. I think I get Graceful. Right here, I'm like getting pretty greedy, but I'm like, okay, well, if I draw into a Chaos Sorcerer or Chaos Monster, then I could maybe go for game right here. And I actually end up doing that. The only thing is he's got 2 back row and 1 token, so I'm like, okay, I'm going to play a little bit safe here. In retrospect, I think I probably should have just gone aggro right here, because I could have banished Jinzo and Crane and got them both back and shuts off his traps. So, or actually I should have gone Jinzo and Air Knight so I could pierce his tokens. In retrospect, I definitely would have gone a little bit more aggro right here instead of holding this. But I was like, what if he has another Scapegoat and another and a meta? Like, I want to be able to have this Chaos Monster to deal with that. But in retrospect, I should have just gone aggro right here. Okay, so that was really unfortunate because I had to... well, did I have to? I guess I didn't have to. Oh no, I do have to. Sorry, sorry guys. I have to Raigeki break this Kaiku because if he attacks directly with it, it's going to put me under 2,000 life. So I unfortunately had to discard the Sork in order to do that, but I do have 3 Chaos Monsters still left in the deck. I end up Diffusing right here. Maybe I should have Heavy Stormed first, but I don't think he's playing Solemn, so I'm not really afraid of that. Get that Graceful for a 3rd time. So I've used Graceful 3 times at this point in time. I draw the Chaos Monster, Pot of Greed. Okay, now I'm just gonna try to attack. Set the Scapegoat. Not a terrible position right here. And I draw the other Dim Fusion, so we're chilling. I make a Sork, try to banish his Spirit Reaper, but he books it. Kind of nice play. Attacks over my Sork, unfortunate. But I have another Sork. I can banish his Zaborg. I cannot activate this Dim Fusion because I'm under 2,000 life. That's unfortunate. I get him pretty low right here, but he does have 1,000 eyes. Okay. This is a pretty back and forth game. I'm at 300 life right now, but okay. So at this point in time, I cannot make any more Dim Fusion pushes. I've also gone through, let's see. Okay, I've gone through, maybe he doesn't know this, but I've gone through all of the monsters in my deck. So the only things I have left in my deck are one Chaos Sorcerer, one BLS. So I'm kind of out of gas at this point, and not in the best spot. But I do have the Scapegoat to stall, so I am able to stall with this. Cool. I do stall with the Scapegoats, and I do draw the BLS, drop it, banishes Thousand Eyes. I'm like, okay, we're cool now. This is kind of interesting. He gets a little bit trigger happy right here. Like, another play that he could do is summon a Sur Priest, attack all of my Goat tokens and set Scapegoat, and then next turn try to meta into Thousand Eyes. This way he clears all my tokens, and he also still has Moth in his hand, but he decides to get a little trigger happy right here, and he makes Thousand Eyes with Moth, takes my BLS. I'm like, okay, shoot. Luckily, I top deck into another Scapegoat right here. So at this point in time, I've gone through all my Chaos Monsters, like literally all my Chaos Monsters, and I can't Dim Fusion. So I literally have no gas left in the deck, except I know that in these last 6 cards, I have a Ring of Destruction. So my only chance right here is to tie this match by drawing into Ring of Destruction. I have like 5 more turns, maybe 4 or 5 more turns with this Scapegoat, and I'm just stalling out until I can draw that ring, basically. So luckily I have the other Scapegoat, so that's going to buy me 4 more turns, but I have 5 cards left in the deck, so what if it's the last card? But luckily I draw into Sinister Serpent right here, which helps buy me another turn. And let's see. At this point, could he do something else? At this point, I think he should definitely be setting some of his cards, like Mystic Tomato, or maybe even a Sur Priest. Like, he shouldn't just leave just one monster on the field, but he decides not to do that. He thinks he has gain right here, but nope, I ring, and we're able to tie that game. So we're going into another tiebreaker, basically, because we tied that one up. So this is actually our 4th game that we've played. Okay, so he's going first. Okay, and also he went first all 4 games, I think, right? Yeah, I won the first 2. So he won the rock, paper, scissors, and I won the second game. Yeah, he's gone first all 4 of these games, which is insane. Okay, so Magical Merchant. Okay, great. This looks pretty familiar to last time. Okay, right here he messes up. He attacks with the Magical Merchant first. Usually you want to attack with the higher monster first to bait out the Scapegoat, but instead he lets me just eat the 200, and then I get to save a Scapegoat token. So a little bit of a misplay from him. I'm just chilling right here. What am I trying to do here? Okay, I think I'm making a really ballsy play right here. So I mind control his face down. I have no idea what this is. This could be a Sangan for all I know, but I'm just getting pretty ballsy, and I just take it. Why did I take it? He doesn't even have a target in the grave for Moth, but it ends up being Moth, so it ends up paying off for me. I get back mind control so I can get that later. I Heavy Storm. He makes a misplay right here again. I think he's pretty tilted, but he books his own merchant, and I mind control it again. So he's like, I think he's pretty tilted right here. And I add Diffuse to my hand, set 1, and pass it up. Can't really do a whole lot right here. He banishes my Serpent with Dekoichi, and I really need to get this reasoning right. If I don't get it right, I could still Dim Fusion back the Serpent and tribute it for like Jinzo or something, but really need to get this right. He calls 4, and I hit 8 like a champ. I meta away the Demok for Gatling. Use Gatling's effect. Now my Dim Fusion is live. Let's see what I hit here. So I hit 2 heads. I'm able to pop his Kaiku and Moth. I Dim Fuse back, get Heavy Storm. And so this is interesting. It's possible that I should not have made Gatling right there, and I don't know, gone for maybe Monster Gate or something instead, so that when I get this Heavy Storm back, he can't activate Scapegoat because his field would be cleared, or would be full, but he can potentially use Scapegoat right here. Oh, interesting. I don't use the Heavy Storm. Let's see what I'm doing. I think I'm holding it in case he Snatch Steals. Oh, there's a Snatch Steal right there. So, perfect. He's at 400 life. I'm at 4,000. I don't think he can OTK me this turn. He gets 2 heads and pops both my cards. You know, great coin flips for him. But I do Heavy Storm right here, and he's not playing Solemn, so that's really unfortunate. That was a huge Heavy Storm. He does have the Book of Moon to keep the Gatling, but I'm chilling right here. I've got back my Demok with Dim Fusion, and it's going to be game right here because I could summon a Chaos Monster and attack over that, attack him directly. So that is the end of this saga, this week 3 saga. It was pretty crazy. Thanks for watching, guys. Stay tuned for week 4, where I start off with the game loss. But thanks, guys, for watching.